Radio check, loud and clear. You guys should be able to hear me. Thank you everyone for tuning in and welcome along to the coverage here in Silverstone. We are 30 minutes away from the start of Free Practice 3 and we've got a lot of action to look forward to today. A super duper close qualifying session is predicted with the Ferraris with a potential shot at pole position. Their pace is looking absolutely fantastic and the McLarens are out in front, but ever so they only have a very small margin ahead of the Ferraris. And well, with Lewis Hamilton's track record around Silverstone, maybe something's going to change, and maybe we're going to have the first Ferrari pole of the year. All right. Yeah. Red Bull focused on top speed, so that's why they're lacking a bit. Yeah, I mean, Red Bull, they've just been, well, Verstappen has been very, very vocal about the fact that the car has no balance whatsoever. Sometimes it'll be quick, sometimes it'll be slow, but you'll look at the car onboards and you'll see just understeer, oversteer, and the exit of every single corner, and on the entry and on the mid corner, every single part of the corner, it's all going wrong for the Red Bull team. And they're not particularly helped by the fact that at Silverstone the wind is quite strong. We've got 11.2 kilometers per hour wind, and the other thing is Silverstone's a very open circuit. You know, it's not like a street circuit or a circuit that's in a city, for example, like let's say in Monaco or in Singapore, where you've got loads of buildings around to sort of block the wind. You've got a plain open circuit, and the wind blows along at full speed, sometimes gusting up to 20, 30 kilometers per hour. And the Red Bull car, well, all the Formula 1 cars are very sensitive to the wind, but the Red Bull car especially so, and they really are struggling with these conditions. So we'll see how Max Verstappen copes with those, but yeah, it's going to be pretty tough. Okay. F1 Gamer, should they leave a soft tyre for qualifying, or was that the fastest lap yesterday? The fastest laps were done, all of these laps that you see currently up on the screen, they were all done on soft tyres. The drivers at the end of the session were using medium tyres, or let's say the hards, and that's why the tyre information is up there as that tyre. Yeah. If I got Surfshark VPN, can I watch FP3 or Quali or the race? Oh no, you can watch all three. You can watch FP1, FP2, FP3, Quali, and the race. So it does work. And I tried buying Surfshark starter, and I thought I was going to pay €2 a month, but it's that's the way that they sort of because if you buy it every month, it's like £12 or €12 per month. But then if you buy it all in bulk, it's 65. But it works out to be cheaper. And for example, if it doesn't work, you can always get a refund. So it's up to you guys to decide if you want it. Suspect a blessed weekend. That is I think that's a pretty good way to describe it. I think Hamilton is having a pretty blessed weekend so far. Just when he arrives at Silverstone, he just turns back into his former self, his former 2008 world champion self, and just his pace just comes out of nowhere. And it's really, really good to see, to be honest. It's he's been struggling a little bit at Ferrari compared to Charles Leclerc, but this is a chance to shine. This is a circuit to shine at, and I think this weekend, this is one of his best chances for a Ferrari win or a Ferrari podium. He has got a podium here every single race since 2014, and that is now 10 years worth of podiums at Silverstone in a row. So if you can make it 11, that would be a record breaking a really, really record breaking, to be honest. But you've got an unstoppable force being Lewis Hamilton, and you've got an immovable object being Ferrari. So I guess we'll see which one comes out on top, because you can always rely on Ferrari to mess up the strategy. And the race tomorrow, folks, the chance for rain is 20% at the start of the race. However, if we go 3 hours before the start of the race, or 4 hours before the start of the race, there is a 70% chance of rain. So we may start the race with a slightly damp track. It depends on how many races there are before the Formula 1 begins, because there will be Formula 2 racing, there will be Formula 3, maybe some other motorsports also, some other categories also racing at Silverstone, and they could dry the circuit out for the Formula 1 cars. Or if the races are after the Formula 1 races, then what could happen is that Formula 1 starts off with a wet track. So yeah, there's some, we could have something very exciting on Sunday. The predictions for later today, it just says 20% chance of rain. It's very, very slim chances that we are going to have rain today. But tomorrow, it is up there. There's potential for some rain. 20% at the start of the race, and there's 70% chance of rain 4 hours before the start. So we could at least start the race with wet conditions. F1 Gamer, do you think F1 needs a tyre war, or is it too dangerous? I don't think it's too dangerous, as long as the FIA tested the tyres thoroughly all the way to their limits and know that the tyres can survive up to whatever load that the drivers put them on, then I'm sure a tyre war would be very interesting to see teams using different tyres. But as of right now, Pirelli have got a firm grip on the Formula 1 tyres, yeah. I mean, there are a couple other manufacturers. I think Michelin have some good experience in MotoGP, I think. But yeah, there are, of course, people that make the tyres for the WEC endurance races, for MotoGP, and they could always branch into Formula 1 if the FIA wanted to. Okay. Yeah, we got 1,000 people tuning in. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm going to run through now the pace difference that we saw at the end of qualifying. At the end of practice yesterday. The sort of lap time difference that we were seeing from the drivers. It looks like McLaren are the quickest team in terms of qualifying and the race. However, the gap between McLaren, Red Bull, Ferrari and Mercedes is only 1.5 tenths at the most. So what we expect to see is that Red Bull, of course, they're going to be doing a lot of work on the balance of the car to hopefully speed it up and make it a little bit more drivable, hence reduce their tyre wear, and that will bring them close to McLaren. Mercedes were very much reliant, they were very much affected by the fact that the track temperatures were up at 40 degrees yesterday, so that had a pretty adverse effect on their conditions. So not on the conditions, on their tyre wear, and that meant their tyres fell off quicker and quicker, and they were losing lap time to the McLarens. But let's say the conditions are cooler today, which I think they are, and that's gonna swing the advantage towards Mercedes, and that should help them catch up as well. And then as for Ferrari, they've still got some tweaks here and there to make to their setup, and that should bring them closer to McLaren. But of course, McLaren will have their own tweaks, they'll have their own changes to make the car faster, to make it better on its tyres. And well, once we get to qualifying, we'll find out who comes out on top. Okay. Why has Piastri fallen from grace? Well, he's had one bad race, to say the least. Well, not even a bad race, really. He still got second position. He just lost out to Lando Norris. He was doing his best to stay within DRS. The DRS was helping him out, but he just could not get past. Norris was doing some pretty solid defensive work as well. And yeah, I've just got to say that Norris had an outstanding weekend at Austria, and it wasn't like Piastri had a bad weekend. It was just Norris was so good. So maybe that'll continue on this weekend. It's, of course, Norris's home race, Hamilton's home race, Russell's home race, Behrman's home race, and then for a lot of the teams as well, Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes, or a lot of them are based out of the UK. Mercedes, of course, is a German brand, but their Formula 1 factory is still in the UK. Norris is now consistently the fastest, but Piastri leads F1. Well, I wouldn't say he's consistently the fastest. He was quicker for one race. Piastri still got more wins this season than Norris has. So we've still got half a season left, to be honest, folks, and it's a really close competition as well. Let me just pop up the Constructors or the Drivers' Championship here. You can see 216 points for Piastri, 201 points for Lando Norris, and then 155 for Verstappen and 146 for Russell. So if you are a firm believer that Max Verstappen is still in the battle for this championship, then you might as well count George Russell in for the battle as well. The Mercedes are looking pretty good. Their upgrade package that they brought, I think, a couple of weekends ago has worked out really well for them. So if you think Verstappen's still in with a shot, then Russell is as well. But the chances for Verstappen are fading quickly, really, because, well, the Red Bull is as undrivable as it has been all season long, and a lot of work needs to be done to it for it to be a championship contender. If Germany returns in the future, should it be the Hockenheim Ring or the Nürburgring GP circuit? I think they should alternate between the two. Both circuits are fantastic. Both have their strengths and weaknesses, and I would love to see them alternate, because you could do a very similar thing in Italy as well. Of course, you'd love to have Monza, you could have Mugello, you could have Imola, 3 different circuits. You don't have to have 3 races every single year at Italy. You could always alternate the circuits. Yeah. I would say why not, really. Would be very nice. Alright. Max needs a lot of rain. Yeah, he'll need a lot of rain in his favour, but the other thing is the Red Bull car isn't necessarily drivable in wet conditions as well. Max is good in the wet conditions, but if the car is not underneath him, sometimes there's just not much you can do, really. I think Red Bull might bring one more upgrade and then they'll call it quits and focus on 2026. Yeah, a lot of teams are going to be doing that. A lot of teams are just going to be focusing on 2026 from now onwards. If we look at the constructors here, Ferrari and Mercedes have some incentive to continue on battling, because they are very close in terms of the constructors' points. 210 for Ferrari, 209 for Mercedes. So with half a season left to go, one extra upgrade package could get you just more points than the other team and seal you the deal for second place in the constructors. And a very similar story for, let's say, Racing Bulls, Haas, Aston Martin and Kick Sauber. Those 4 teams are extremely close to each other in the constructors, and one good points finish, 1 5th position, 1 6th position could be a very big turnaround, a very big swing in the championship. So these teams also have a fairly big incentive to continue on developing, but let's say Aston Martin, they have got all of their eggs in the 2026 basket. They've got Adrian Newey working on the car since the start of March. Adrian Newey has been working on the 2026 car, and they really don't care too much about this year. This year is just sort of a waiting game until 2026 begins, to be honest, for them. But I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what will happen. Do you think McLaren can beat the 100 points mark? McLaren are already on 400 points, so I don't know exactly what that means. Maybe they could they could score a lot of points, to be honest. Both drivers, they could probably end up on 300, 350 points each. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we got 1,600 people tuning into live stream. Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, folks, it really is appreciated. It helps out the YouTube algorithm a lot. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hitting the like button if you have already. And yeah, we're going to have a very exciting qualifying session in 3 hours and 47 minutes. But first up, we've got FP3. The drivers are going to do their long runs at the start of the session, then slowly build up to qualifying towards the end with the soft tyres. They'll do probably 3 or 4 runs on the softs, and then they'll call it quits. But we are going to have qualifying simulations in the latter half of this session. All right, then. Mihan Mota, I would appreciate if you didn't spam. Do you think Stroll can get a podium in the race this weekend? I don't think so. I do not think so. The Aston Martin's good, but is it close to a podium? Not really. Once you've got 4 quick teams to consider, that's sort of the top 8 positions already locked out, Okay, but maybe not top 8, maybe top 7, because you can't really count the second Red Bull driver, whoever it is. But yeah, you're going to need a lot of chaos and a lot of action, and then an exceptional performance from whoever's scoring that podium as well to end up in 3rd place. Okay. Do you think Sauber can make it back-to-back Q3 appearances? Oh, for sure. Sauber could definitely pull one out of the bag. Hulkenberg was showing some good pace earlier in FP1. In FP2, not so much, but who knows what will happen. Okay. What else have we got going on then, folks? Um, so yeah. Also, if you are listening to this on TikTok, this coverage has actually been stolen on TikTok, and someone else is reposting it. Let me just so be sure to just come over to YouTube. The original creator's F1 Gamer, and yeah, go ahead and watch it over on YouTube. It does help out the actual creator rather than the person who's stolen it. All right. Yeah, let's continue on then. 14 minutes left to the start of FP3, and yeah, we'll be getting underway very, very soon. Let's talk about the Williams' pace. Well, Williams did a lot of running on the hard tyres at the start of FP1, and then since after that, we didn't see too much of them. Albon didn't set any exceptional lap times. Neither did Carlos Sainz. Sainz, in fact, had a little spin on the exit of Luffield and did an unsafe re-entry. He got investigated after the session for that one. I don't think there was any penalty points given out, given that it was just a practice session. But yeah, Williams' pace not so good actually. They had a really strong start to the season, but past couple of races it's dropped off. Of course, last race in Austria they had a double DNF. They were they should have been really good in Austria theoretically, with all of the pace that they have down the straights and the aerodynamic efficiency that they have. Something that is also very suited to the Silverstone circuit. So, I would have expected them to be good, but I guess we'll only see what happens in Q3. I don't think they had turned their engine modes up fully either, so once they do that, maybe certain things will turn around for them. Alright. Last year's pole time was a 1 minute 25.9, as you can see over here. And yeah, yesterday we got to the 1 minute 25.8 from Lando Norris, but that's still not an all-time record. The all-time record, I think, is a 124.2 from maybe Hamilton in 2020 or Bottas in 2020, one of the drivers from the 2020 season. Can Racing Bulls get a podium this year? Oh, absolutely. The pace from Racing Bulls looks like they are quicker than the Red Bull team themselves. And in FP1, for the majority of the FP1 session, we had both Racing Bull drivers ahead of both Red Bull drivers. So, yeah, they've got some solid pace and they look strong this weekend. So, if the conditions are right, let's say there's a bit of chaos out in the rain, then the Racing Bulls could definitely score a podium. They look very, very nice at this point in the season. Who are you rooting for in the championship? Oscar or Lando? I'm with Lando till the end. Well, I'm not really rooting for anyone. I'm not I'm not the biggest fan of Norris or Piastri. My wallpaper, in fact, is Seb Vettel. Still, if Seb Vettel was competing in the championship right now, I'd be vouching for him. But since he's not competing, I just love a good battle right to the end. If you could get a race right down to the wire, like we did in 2021, right till the end of the season, that would be incredible. I just don't want any driver to sort of run away with it. I would much prefer that we get constant squabbling between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. We get a Nico Rosberg versus Lewis Hamilton situation. That would be very epic to watch. Yeah. And if we could get maybe Verstappen and Russell closing up on the two McLarens as well, four-way fight for the championship, I would happily take it. Where do you think Hamilton will end up this weekend? I think Hamilton will get his first podium for Ferrari this weekend. I think that, well, the Silverstone circuit is his best circuit. He's got 9 wins at this track, and this weekend's going to be the one. That's what I think is going to happen. I think the Nürburgring GP is a better track than Hockenheimring. Hockenheimring has no elevation changes, it's artificial. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I think the Hockenheimring, though, has slightly better overtaking chances, just because of the really big hairpins that you get from from 7th gear all the way down to 2nd gear in the first sector and the second sector. So that really helps the Hockenheimring in terms of overtaking chances. But Also, the Nürburgring is a brilliant circuit, so I'm sure either of them would be great. To be fair, the turn 1 at the Nürburgring is a big old hairpin, so that's a pretty great overtaking opportunity. And the final chicane, so I'm sure they're both good. Okay, I'm going to take you through a lap of the circuit here, folks, so give you a little bit of information on what this circuit's like for the drivers to drive in, and then we'll get underway shortly. Just a quick reminder to anyone watching over on TikTok, the content has been stolen, and, you know, someone's just taken my content off YouTube and is reposting it to TikTok. I've emailed them, told them to not do it. They've just totally ignored me, and I know they've got my email because they replied to it, so, yeah, they're just going against copyright laws and stuff like that, so we'll get that sorted pretty soon. But if you are watching over on TikTok, if you could come over to YouTube, search F1 Gamer, and the stream will come up, and you'll have a lot more people in the chat to type with. We've got around 2,000 people watching the stream right now. Alright, let's take you through a lap of the circuit. So here we are then. We are making our way down out of the final 2 corners through Vale and Club. You exit Club corner, just trying to get a very, very smooth exit onto the start-finish straight. Open the there's no DRS, sorry, I don't know why I keep saying open the DRS, but hit the first apex, very smooth on the steering wheel. You want to scrub as little speed as possible, break in a straight line, then start rotating the car as late as possible into farm. You're getting onto the power and steering at the same time on the exit of farm as you go into the loop. Very easy to lose traction, but the drivers keep it under control. Open the DRS flap and they head on to the Wellington straight. Going into Brooklands now, your apex speed and your braking point is very much affected by the wind conditions here. If you have a tailwind, you have to brake a lot earlier. If you have a headwind, you can brake a lot later. Then going through Luffield, you take a double apex line, you hit the first apex, drift out wide, hit the second apex, then you come down the old start finish straight, heading towards Copse Corner. The drivers are up in 8th gear, 300 kilometers per hour as they flick the car to the right, and they continue on to Maggots and Beckett's now, the higher speed corners on the circuit. To the left, to the right, you're absolutely flat. A small little lift for the third corner, then through the 4th corner, you have to downshift into 6th, accelerate out onto the Hanger straight. This is the longest straight of the circuit. The driver's reaching 320 kilometers per hour down the straight. With a little toe, you can gain a 10th on your quali lap. Super deep braking into Stowe. Hit the apex, stay within track limits. It is very difficult to, especially because you can't see the exit of the corner when you're driving through it. Then you go through Vale and Club, just straight line braking for Vale, and a smooth exit out of Club and across the line for a lap of Silverstone. The lap times we'll be looking at for qualifying will be around the 1 minute 25s, maybe even into 1 minute 24s. Is that F1 22? No, that is F1 2021. Yeah, that's the most recent game that I've got. Not the most recent considering it should be a little bit more recent considering my name is F1 Gamer. But, you know, I quite like the F1 21 game. I'm very used to driving it. And the new games are just super duper expensive. And EA sent me a code, except that I forgot to claim it at the right time. So I guess I don't have it. Don't have F1 25. Can you tell us who's doing quali laps, who's doing long runs, and who's doing pit stop practice and that stuff? The main F1 highlights only mention the small unrelated mistakes for the drivers. Yeah, so what you'll see essentially when the drivers are doing quali runs, they'll be out on soft tyres and they'll do one slow lap and then one push lap. The push lap will probably be around the 1 minute 26s, 1 minute 25s, and if they're doing long runs, they'll be on the mediums or the hard tyres, and the lap times will be in the 129s, 130s, 131s. So that's the sort of range that you're looking at for long runs, and then pit stop practice and other stuff comes towards the end of the session. But I will do my best to keep pointing that out. Okay. Do you think Max will make the shift? Well, I mean, that's a pretty big question to ask. I don't really have any intel, any idea on what Max Verstappen's going to do. But, you know, Christian Horner came out yesterday and said that Max Verstappen is thinking of retiring at Red Bull. That's how committed he is to the team, which I think is... Christian Horner's just talking straight lies right there. Max Verstappen, why would he stay at the Red Bull team if it is going to be a slow team? He's one of the best drivers on the grid. Any team will be happy to take him. So yeah, that makes no sense saying that, oh, Max is thinking of staying at the Red Bull team till he retires. But, you know, what can Christian Horner really say? And then, apart from that, we've got, Toto Wolff is looking to get Max Verstappen in and replace George Russell. I don't really know where George Russell would go if that were to happen, but Verstappen is basically just got to have a big promise with Toto Wolff, and I think Max Verstappen will want a 1 year contract at Mercedes. You know, he'll go to Mercedes at 2026, and if Mercedes isn't the top team, he'll leave immediately the next year and go to the top team, or at least try to go to the top team, and. Yeah, it would be unwise really to go for a 2 year contract unless he knows for a fact that Mercedes is going to be the quickest, which he has no way of knowing. So, yeah, I guess Verstappen is just going to have to hedge his bets. Either you stick with the Red Bull team, and his contract with Red Bull, I think, is till 2028. But, of course, there's a contract sort of a release clause in there. If Red Bull are a slow team, Max Verstappen's allowed to leave. And I guess we'll see. But yeah, Christian Horner's very much in panic mode. He can't see his star driver leave, because if this star driver does leave, Red Bull have scored 162 points in the championship. Max Verstappen has scored 155 of the 162. If they were to not have Max Verstappen, they would be down in 10th position in the constructors with 7 points to their name. So yeah, he is very much in panic mode. His star driver, who has scored 95% of the points for the team, is about to leave. Like, if I were Christian Horner, I'd be very panicked right now. Okay. Yeah, we've got 4 minutes left of the session. We'll get the drivers out onto the circuit very soon. I think we'll have the free practice 3 data coming through as well. There we go. In fact, we have got the free practice 3 data, and this is good news for the Mercedes team, ladies and gentlemen. If you are seeing what I'm seeing, track temperature is 25 degrees Celsius, air temperature 19 degrees Celsius. The Mercedes pit crew are going to be very happy with that one. The risk of rain has been declared as 10% chance of rain. But the main thing, 25 degrees track temperature, the Mercedes are going to be super happy with that. They really do struggle in the hot conditions, and we're going to see what their race pace looks like now in the colder conditions. Yeah. 70% humidity, yeah, it's pretty humid out here in the UK, and that's just a sign that we might get a bit of rain later on in the day. The risk of rain is 10% today, but for tomorrow it looks like the risk of rain is much higher. Very new to F1. Why is that good for Mercedes specifically? It's just Mercedes this season have had a history of struggling with tyre wear when the conditions are really hot. They seem to wear through their tyres a lot more than all of the other teams when track temperature is really high at 40 degrees, 50 degrees, and we've seen it in Silverstone, we've seen it in Austria, we've seen it in Canada. Well, actually not in Canada. In Canada, George Russell managed to keep it under control, but in all of the other races, Mercedes have really struggled in hot conditions, and here we are in the UK at the home race for George Russell, and we have got 25-degree track temperature. Oh, the start of free practice 3 will be delayed. I have no idea why it's being delayed, but yeah, it's been delayed for some reason, actually. I think there might have been a crash earlier in Formula 2 or something that will have resulted in the delay. We had that happen earlier. We had that happen last weekend out in Austria, where quali got delayed by a little bit because there was a crash in Formula 2, and I suspect a similar thing will have happened today, and that is why that's why the start of FP3 has been delayed a little bit. Yeah, hopefully it's not been delayed too much. I'll get some info on when it's going to restart. Yeah. Practice delayed, unfortunately, folks. Yeah, I'll change the timer once I get an accurate number on why it has been delayed. It's a cooler day in Silverstone, but no rain as of yet. And yeah, the race control, as always, has not actually told us when the session's going to start. They've just told us it's been delayed. Yeah, a 30-minute delay apparently. Okay, well, we'll have a look. On the official F1 broadcast, they haven't said anything about how much it's been delayed. They've just said the start of FP3 will be delayed. All right, I'll take you through a lap of the circuit while we wait, and we'll enter another episode of the F1 Gamer podcast till we get going. Lots of tire marbles. Okay, I mean tire marbles aren't normally an issue for the drivers and the teams. The tire marbles can very easily sort of been sorted up. Oh no, it's a 5 minute delay, folks. 5 minute delay. It's not a 35. It's not a 30 minute delay. It's a 35 minute. It's a 5 minute delay. Okay. There we go. The timer has been corrected, and 5 minutes now till the start of FP3. Okay. F1 Gamer, what do you think about Microsoft firing half of Townsend Studios and the cancellation of the Forza Motorsport series? Apparently, I never really played the Forza Motorsport games. I must say the Forza Horizon games were really fun. So it'd be sad to see that happen, to be honest. But it's sort of just the way the world's heading, unfortunately. Loads of layoff, loads of people losing their jobs. Bit unfortunate, but I don't really know what the solution to it is. And to be honest, I'm not an economist or someone who knows much about the world as a whole. I know a lot about Formula One, so yeah, I'm not going to comment any further on that one. Yeah, a lap around Silverstone. Totally forgot about that. All right, so you make your way through Vale and Club here. You just want to carry as much speed as possible. You short shift through here. It reduces your wheel spin, so very, very handy for that. And then you head down the main straight. The drivers just flick it right and then flick it left. Very minimal steering input, very smooth steering input as well as not to scrub off any speed. Brake in a straight line, hit this first apex. The curb isn't too violent, so you can drive over that one. Same thing for the curb here at the loop. Then you get onto the power down the straight, down the Wellington straight. There's not a lot of elevation change at this circuit, but there is a lot of wind, which affects your braking point into Brooklyn. The drivers brake so late, though, after the 50-meter mark, and they sort of trail brake into the corner and just carry as much speed as they possibly can. Hit the first apex at Luffield, drift out wide, drift back in again, and then straight onto the power. Hug the inside line as you go down the old start-finish straight. Then into Copse Corner, you're onto the left hand side, hit the apex, stay within track limits, hope that your car doesn't bottom out. We saw it happen from Bortoletto and Gasly. The car bottom out, they did a full 360, managed to keep it under control, but yeah, very, very dangerous if your car hits the bottom of the ground going through Copse Corner. You have about 5 tons worth of downforce squeezing down on the car going through Copse, and that makes it, if your suspension isn't set up correctly, you will bottom out and you will end up crashing. And you come down through Stowe Corner. Very easy to exceed track limits there, but the drivers are much better at it than me. And then once again, short shift through Club Corner and come out of the final corner. And that is it. That is a lap of Silverstone, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Yeah, we got yellows because a Formula 2 car crashed. Okay. Formula 2 car crash delaying the start of FP3. Formula 2 have done it 2 weekends in a row, actually. F1 Gamer, what is your sim racing setup? I have a Thrustmaster TXM Pro or something, and then just the pedals that come with it. No clutch pedal, no gear shift or anything like that. It's a force feedback wheel. I got it secondhand off some guy on the internet, basically. But it's pretty good, and it came with a stand as well. So yeah, that's my setup. It's nothing too fancy, to be honest. Paid around €100 or $120 or something around it for that one. I got a really good deal on it, to be honest. It should have been like €250 or something, but I got it for half price pretty much. Will the track temperature be cold during quali? I think so, ladies and gentlemen. The conditions in Silverstone still look to be very cloudy all day long, meaning that we will probably have cold conditions for quali, and that is going to be in George Russell's and Kimi Antonelli's favour. Okay, yeah, we have got the drivers getting into their cars now, getting ready to go out for practice. 1 minute and 20 seconds till we get underway for the session, and we will have the full 1 hour of practice, folks. It's not been cut short by 5 minutes because we start 5 minutes late. We will have the full 1 hour. Okay. Alrighty then, what else have we got going on then, folks? Also, if you are watching this over on TikTok, I would just like to inform you guys that the stream that you're watching has actually been stolen off YouTube. Someone has basically just taken my content, reposted it to TikTok. The original creator is F1 Gamer on YouTube, and yeah, if you could come along and watch on YouTube, that would much be preferred, rather than watching someone that's basically just stolen my content and is reposting it to TikTok. So yeah, that would very much be appreciated. Yeah, hope to see you guys on YouTube. We got about 5,000 people in the chat, or 5,000 people watching the stream, and it really does help out the algorithm. And it's much nicer when you have 5,000 people to chat to, rather than the 100 or so that are in the TikTok stream. Okay, 5 seconds left. We've got some drivers making their way to the end of the pit lane. Let me get rid of this countdown timer, and we've got a green light at the end of the pit lane, and the first car out onto the track is Pierre Gasly on a set of soft tyres. Okay, RB should listen to Sonny Haynes. Indeed, they should build a car for combat. That's what's going to fix their car. I don't know why they didn't think of that one, to be honest. They should build a car for combat, and then they'll be on top. Easy peasy. Exactly, folks. Exactly. So, let me know what other suggestions have you got for the Red Bull team. I think they should do Plan C for Chaos. They could use Yuki Tsunoda as a person to do Plan C for Chaos. That could work. Yeah, we got the two Alpines out on track on fresh softs. Looks like they're just doing some install laps here. Or maybe they'll do some quick runs as well. But Lando Norris, not even in the car, not even got his helmet or balaclava on. He's currently out, just waiting around for the circuit to sort of get cleaned up a little bit by the other drivers before they go out to do their long runs. Okay. If the temperature stays like this until the race tomorrow, I think Mercedes will have a chance. Indeed, they should. Who looks good so far? Well, the McLarens, of course, they always look good this season. They've had exceptional pace throughout the first 12 races. Well, first 11 races. This is the 12th race. And Ferrari, they are looking fantastic, to be honest. They brought an upgrade package a couple of races ago, and they've been getting quicker and quicker. So they're in for a real shot this weekend, and Lewis Hamilton is putting together some exceptional laps as well. So maybe this is going to be a Ferrari pole position. I would love to see that, really. We've had enough McLaren domination, and it'd be good to see another team back on the top. And what better way to have it than Lewis Hamilton at on pole position here in Silverstone, in front of his home fans. The Red Bull is struggling quite badly. Their pace isn't so bad. Well, okay, their pace is pretty bad compared to the McLarens, but considering the way the car is driving, their pace isn't too shabby. If you look at some of the onboard laps from Max Verstappen, he has to try to turn into a corner 3 times before the car actually grips up, and then he can continue on his way. So a lot of essentially Max has got to push really, really hard and drive the car perfectly. It's also very sensitive to the wind, which, as you can see here in Silverstone, is quite a big issue. We've got 15 kilometers per hour wind blowing from the southwesterly direction, and that causes a pretty big problem for the drivers. For all of the drivers, but especially Max Verstappen, because the Red Bull is super sensitive to the wind. And yeah, I guess we'll see how he fares, but the team will have done some work overnight with the setup to try and make it a little bit better, a little bit more drivable, and I guess we'll have to see if it's worked out for him. Okay, so much pink indeed. We do have a lot of pink here. Of course, the quickest first and second set, the drivers quickest through all of the sectors are going to be Gasly and Colapinto. They're the only drivers that have completed laps yet. But Gasly, first driver to come across and set a lap, and a 1:28.5 from him. He is around about 2 seconds or so off last year's pole time. The soft tyre is the C4. I think sort of C4 for the softs, C3 for the mediums, C2 for the hards. It's one step softer than we had last year out in Silverstone, which means that we will have more pit stops, much more likely to have a 2-stop as well, and always good news. It's a little bit risky around here in Silverstone to use softer tyres, because in the past we have had tyre blowouts, we've had punctures. I think Danny Kvyat had a big old tyre failure going through Magus and Beckett's that resulted in a pretty big crash. We've had both Mercs finish the race with only 2-3 tyres on their cars that are actually functioning because of tyre issues and them essentially just exploding on while they're driving. So I guess Pirelli have made an informed decision. They know how much tyre load's going to be going through the cars at the Silverstone circuit, and they've picked the tyres accordingly. Will you also be commentating quali? Indeed, I will. Quali, as you can see, there's a little timer there just at the bottom of the circuit. It's 3 hours and 20 minutes till qualifying. I will be commentating for that. Also, folks, we've got 7,000 people tuned into live stream. If you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. It really does help out the channel. And yeah, hope to see you guys around for qualifying. Okie dokes. Yeah, we're getting. I think we'll get some more cars coming out onto the track. Stroll and Alonso, they're coming out on their hard tyres just to give them a little bit of a scrubbing. And yeah, Colapinto and Gasly continuing around. 128 for Colapinto, 128.5. He goes 34 milliseconds ahead of Pierre Gasly. Nice job from the Argentinian. Also, I don't really know what's happened. Colapinto was given a 5-race contract or something, and it looks like that's been extended because Jack Doohan isn't driving. Colapinto is still driving. So I guess Colapinto has impressed Flavio Briatore enough to continue on in his seat at the Alpine team. Imola is out next year. Yeah, Imola is out. It's a little bit unfortunate, to be honest, but hopefully we can get a good circuit to replace it. All right. F1 Gamer, love your commentary. Why did Alpine go out first? Is it the lowest standings get more time? No, it is the Alpines just happened to go out first because I guess they wanted to do a little bit more running than everyone else. All of the other drivers are currently sat in the pits because the track's a little bit dirty, and they just want the track to be cleaned up essentially by the other cars. So Gasly and Colapinto are doing a favour to all of the other teams. They're cleaning up the circuit, and then we'll get the McLarens, the Ferraris, and all of the other drivers make their way onto the circuit on a slightly cleaner track. Because if the track is dirty, you don't get as representative data for your tyre wear conditions and how much grip that you have and stuff like that. So the teams are essentially waiting for the conditions to be a little bit more representative of what they're likely to see during the race. It's Madrid that will replace Imola. Well, I hope that we'll have good racing around Madrid. I've looked at the circuit and I think they've got the cars going around 3 roundabouts in the Madrid city centre, which is an interesting choice to say the least. I wouldn't say roundabouts are touted as great overtaking opportunities. So I don't really know why or how they've designed that circuit, but I guess we'll have 2 races out in Madrid. Or 2 races out in Spain, maybe. Oh, are we going to have 2 races out in Spain, or is it just going to be Madrid and no Barcelona? I'm not sure. All right, what are your predictions for quali? I'm predicting that we're going to have a Ferrari in the top 2. That is my prediction. Either Hamilton or Leclerc. I think more likely Hamilton this weekend, just because of his exceptional track record around Silverstone. But I think we're going to have a Ferrari in the top 2. And then maybe if the Red Bull car is a little bit more drivable, then Verstappen could stick it on pole, or much more likely we're going to have Lando Norris or Piastri, maybe George Russell. The conditions are 25 degrees Celsius for track temperature. That is good news for George Russell, and maybe George Russell could pull out a special lap. He's done it before, and he could definitely do it as a home Grand Prix circuit. Okay, there's 2 in Spain next year, and then after that, it's just Madrid on its own. Okay, well, it'll be good to see compare what Barcelona's like to Madrid. Could Checo be back in any way? Well, there's been a lot of rumours. It looks like Red Bull are sort of regretting having Sergio Perez on their team. Firstly, because Sergio Perez, of course, brought a lot of money from his sponsors to the team, and secondly, because Sergio Perez, it wasn't actually that bad of a driver. It's the Red Bull number 2 driver curse continues. You have Liam Lawson drive, you have Yuki Tsunoda drive. Whoever is driving, they're never going to perform that great because that car's oriented around Max Verstappen, or the car is just simply undrivable, and Verstappen is the only driver that can sort of half drive it. So they've been, regretting. I think they've been regretting firing Sergio Perez, and maybe Sergio Perez will join Cadillac. There's been rumours that maybe Valtteri Bottas will be joining Cadillac. Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas would be an amazing driver combination, I've got to say. So much experience, so much knowledge of top teams and how they operate. They could really help Cadillac find their feet in Formula 1. So that's always an option, but Cadillac might have some, Cadillac's board members might say, oh, we want American drivers so we can sell more American t-shirts. So it's really up to the board. Hamilton, though, is doing a quick lap here. He's purple through the first sector, and he's pushing nice and hard. Well, he's not pushing that hard, to be honest. It's his first lap out onto the track today, and he's not going to be pushing the Ferraris right to the limit, but he is driving reasonably quick, 305 kilometers per hour as he turns through Copse, 5G of lateral loading. So if your neck is, if your head is around 5 kilograms, when you're going through 5Gs of lateral loading, your head essentially feels like 25 kilograms going through that corner. You need a lot of neck strength, and of course the drivers are very used to that. Hamilton makes his way through Stowe, 3/10 up on the lap time of Colapinto there, up in first position. And yeah, Hamilton's just got Vale and Club left to go. He comes out of the final corner across the line, first position for Lewis Hamilton by 3/4 of a second. Only probability of rain is tomorrow in the morning. Indeed it is, folks. The rain is set to the rain is set to fall 4 hours before the start of the race. There's a 70% chance of rain 4 hours before the start of the race. During the race itself, the chances dropped 20% or so, and it's looking pretty unlikely for that to happen. But it is the British weather, and you can never really predict it. When the clouds are out, the rain could start falling at any moment in time. So we'll get a more accurate weather prediction tomorrow. To be honest, I never really trust the weather predictions more than one day out. I'll check the weather for that day and that day only. I'm not going to check the weather for the next day or the day after. So we'll get a more accurate prediction tomorrow. Okay, we're getting a couple more drivers getting ready to head out onto the circuit now. Gasly makes his way back onto the track, I think, and Verstappen's also got into his car to get going. Oh no, Gasly I think is coming into the pits. Yeah. And F1 Gamer, I've got to go to a wedding exactly when qualifying starts. Well, I would suggest you skip that wedding. It's quite simple. Formula 1 qualifying or a wedding. The choice is simple, really. Yeah. Oh, Hulkenberg, nice lap from him. 128.9. He's 5 tenths off the back of Pierre Gasly, and yeah, a lot of lap time left to be found for Nico Hulkenberg, but of course it's his first lap, so no miracles are to be expected. Your content's been stolen again on TikTok. Yes, I do know, actually. Folks, if you are watching this content on TikTok, what I'm going to suggest is that you come over, watch it on YouTube. Whoever's reposted this to TikTok has basically just stolen my content of YouTube and is just streaming it directly to TikTok. So it'd very much be appreciated if, you report the guy or whatever, and then come over to YouTube and search up F1 Gamer, and I'll be the first live stream that comes up, and you can watch the coverage right from the original creator. That would very much be appreciated, folks. Apart from that, we are 15 minutes into FP3, and as is typical for Formula 1 teams, we have only got 6 cars out on the track in total, and we haven't had any more running from anyone else. So I can tell you the second half, the third half of this session is going to be the third half of this session. The second half of this session is going to be a lot more busy with a lot more short runs. The teams are going to come out. They're going to do their long runs pretty quickly, only about 10 laps or so. And then once they've done that, they'll bolt on a set of soft tyres, and then they will then they'll do some quality sims, which is exactly what we want to see. Will he make any money for stealing your content? I think he will. Let's see how many followers he's got. Yeah, he's got 1,500 followers, which might mean he makes money off TikTok. I'm not sure how much it would be, to be honest, but I think he might be making money, which is yeah, pretty rude to be making money off my own content. Off someone, yeah, making money off someone else's content. But yeah, I will report him for copyright. And yeah, TikTok systems just take a while, really. I mean, I emailed the guy, told him to not do it, and he replied saying, okay, he didn't do it for FP2, and then once again, here he is back in streaming someone else's content for FP3. So a little bit unfortunate, and I'm sure these issues will be worked out soon enough. Why don't you do TikTok as well? I probably will do TikTok as well. The other thing is, I just need a good enough internet connection. Because if I'm streaming to YouTube, I'm streaming to TikTok, you need to broadcast your footage to 2 different places, and you need double the internet connection. And my internet isn't the best right now, so hopefully I can get that resolved. And once that is resolved, I can stream to TikTok as well. It's pretty handy, actually. Quite a lot of people, surprisingly, watch streams on vertical. I would have expected most people watch it sort of horizontal. Yeah. All right then. Yeah, that's enough of the sort of F1 gamer chat. I'll do one final sort of little message. If you folks are interested in watching the coverage for only $2 a month, what you can do, get Surfshark VPN, then you join an Austrian VPN server, go into the you can download Surfshark VPN, connect to an Austrian VPN server, go onto Google, search Servers TV, make an account, log in, and enjoy watching Formula One, essentially. We've got around 300, 400, 500 people using this method on the channel right now, so it definitely does work. And the commentary's in German, so if you don't understand German, you mute the coverage and you listen to me commentate instead, but you can still watch the cars go around the track. So if you guys are interested, go ahead and check that out. It very much does help out the channel. You know, I'm doing my best here to block the adverts from YouTube so you guys don't get any adverts when the stream is live. But if you want to get Surfshark VPN, it does help out the channel. All right, we got a lot of action now out in the pit lane, so that's enough of the random chat, and we are now entering commentary mode, where we have got Leclerc, Norris, Verstappen, Piastri, Hulkenberg, some of the racing bulls, all of them making their way out onto the circuit. Looking good, looking good. F1 Gamer, it should be Kailami replacing Imola, not Madrid. Yeah, I mean, Kailami may come onto the calendar sooner, pretty soon, because they are looking to get that circuit up to FIA Grade 1 specification, which means they'll have enough barriers, they'll have enough protection for the Formula 1 cars to be driving around at breakneck speeds. And yeah, should be good. Should be good if Kailami can get that sorted. Okay. While we've still got some drivers in the pits, I'm just gonna have this little warning up here for a while. I'll take this down eventually once we get Lawson and Ocon and Behrman out onto the track. But for now, I'm just gonna leave this up so the people on TikTok know what's up. All right, Hamilton improves on the previous lap, a 126.5. Great lap from Hamilton on his second run as well. Second run on that set of soft tyres. He's still got some pace, and of course he's worn out his soft tyres, burnt off some fuel, sorry. That would have helped him out in reducing his lap time. But a 126.5 and a purple in all 3 sectors. Stop the count here, folks, ladies and gentlemen. Hamilton's done a brilliant job in the Ferrari. We've got the Lando Norris fans, a lot of them out with the yellow bucket hats, and Lando Norris waving to the fans before he starts the quali lap. Let's see what he can do. He's out on a fresh set of soft tyres from Pirelli. He makes his way down the start-finish straight through Abbey and in towards Farm. The car looks like it's absolutely on rails here. We've got 20 to 25 kilometer per hour tailwind going in towards turn number 3. So just an idea from the wind direction that we've got. I'll give you just a little bit of an idea here. we have got the wind blowing from this direction, so from here, giving the drivers a tailwind through farm. And essentially what that's going to mean is that they have to brake a lot earlier than expected. They have a lot less grip going through here. But let's say going into Stowe, that's going to give them extra grip going through Stowe, because they're going to have a headwind. Going through Luffield, they're also going to have a little bit of extra grip. But, going at the entry of Luffield, you'll have loads of extra grip. On the exit of Luffield, you'll have a lot less grip. So the drivers have to be mentally sort of aware of this grip of the wind while they're driving around, to sort of understand where can they push, where can't they push. And it's all really interesting, to be fair. So yeah, I'll keep you updated on the wind situation and stuff like that. But we've got a quick lap here from Norris so far. He's green in the first and second sectors. No purples from him just yet. He comes across the line, second place, half a second back from Lewis Hamilton. Not too shabby considering it's his first lap. I expect him to sort of get into the rhythm a little bit a little bit later into the session, and we can expect him to top the time soon enough, I'm guessing. But Charles Leclerc, it's a Ferrari 1-2 again, ladies and gentlemen, and it was a Ferrari 1-2 for a total of 5 seconds before Max Verstappen came and ruined the fun. Well, not really ruined the fun. I think it's great that Verstappen's up here to compete as well. And look at that gap, ladies and gentlemen, 5 milliseconds. The top 3 drivers within 35 milliseconds of each other. Absolutely fantastic. Qualifying is going to be so close. And yeah, Charles Leclerc 126.4 from him, Verstappen a 126.499 from him. And what can I tell you? Quali is going to be incredible. And now we're getting the Mercs out as well. In these cold conditions, the Mercs should be doing great as well. So first sector here, Russell's a little bit slow. Russell and Anthony both a little bit slow. Might be a sign that their tyre warm-up procedure isn't up to scratch yet. All of the teams do work on the tyre warm-up procedure throughout the entire weekend. They're always figuring out what is the most optimal way to have your brakes and your tyres in the get them warmed up for your hot lap. So maybe you'll do a lot of warming up your tires down the Hanger Straight, and then you'll warm up your brakes through Vale. Maybe you'll do the opposite. But as the teams and the drivers get these procedures dialed in, I expect to see the lap times drop even further. Yuki Tsunoda 325 kilometers per hour down the speed traps. Verstappen 324. It is the Red Bulls have got a lot of top speed here, and I think that they've also set up the car to overtake because, well, I think they themselves know that it's not going to be that easy to stick it up on pole position. However, if they do have a little bit more top speed than the rest of the drivers, rest of the teams, then overtaking could be significantly easier. And it looks like they're setting their car up with the hopes of making some overtakes tomorrow. Especially with the rain forecast tomorrow, that could make things very, very exciting. There's no rain forecast for today, folks. The chance of rain is around 10% all day long, so looking pretty slim in terms of the rain chances. However, we could have rain tomorrow. Yeah, Red Bull have built the car for combat, clearly. Verstappen's GPS just stopped working momentarily. It's back to working as of now. But yeah, looking good so far here, folks. For the British Grand Prix in FP3 here. We are 20 minutes into the session. We've got Charles Leclerc top of the times, Verstappen second, Hamilton third, George Russell fourth, and Norris fifth. Good mix, good competition, and Russell is only 1.5 tenths back from Charles Leclerc, so I guess we'll see what the McLarens can do on their second lap. They are currently on a double cooldown by the looks of it. Silverstone does put a lot of load through the tyres. I've got to be totally honest here. Going through the first couple of corners warms up your tyres. Brooklyn and Luffield take a lot out of your tyres. Maggots and Beckett's does as well. So a lot of high energy corners, and this is why we're seeing a lot of drivers do double cooldown laps to cool down the tyres to the correct temperature before they go out and do another flying lap. Quali is going to be amazing. Indeed it is. Qualifying this season, honestly, loads of qualifying sessions this season have been amazing. They've always been so close, so unpredictable. I'm just loving this season, to be honest. Can't get much better than this. Is it true that Max is going to Mercedes? It is true that there's been rumours. It's true that there's been lots of talks. I don't know. There's going to have to be an official contract that's going to be signed before it's true or false whether Max is going to Mercedes. And Max can take his time really. Mercedes will wait right till the end of the season if Max Verstappen keeps them on the edge of their seat. So it's up to Verstappen to decide. And I'm sure he'll be looking at the progress of the Red Bull team because as a team, the main selling point of Mercedes is going to be, we've got a good engine for 2026, we've got a good car for 2026, join us and we'll give you a championship winning car. That's essentially what Mercedes is promising. So Verstappen will have the insights within the Red Bull development. He'll be able to see how is the Red Bull car doing for 2026, and then Toto Wolff might give him a little bit of information about the Mercedes car in 2026. Maybe Verstappen will make some guesses based off that. Maybe he'll make some predictions on which team's going to do better. And that is. I think that's how he's going to go about making his decision. I don't think Max Verstappen really cares about the money. Verstappen would take a championship-winning car over £50 million a year any single day of the week, and that's a thing that could be said for all of these drivers here. They love to win. They've been winning every single championship that they have been in since their junior career, since they've stepped foot into a motor racing machine, and they will happily take a pay cut to get a championship winning car. Drive to Survive producers are giggling. Indeed they are. I'm sure the Drive to Survive producers are loving this one. And as you can see from the top speeds there, folks, the McLarens once again slowest through the speed traps. They've turned down the engine mode. Again, we have been seeing a lot of issues with the Mercedes power unit. McLaren haven't had any issues so far, and they are looking to keep it that way. So they're running with pretty low engine modes here in quali. They are also running more downforce as well. So so it's a combination of things, but I think McLaren are doing their best to preserve the wear on this engine and to keep the engine going as long as they possibly can, because they don't want unnecessary wear on the car. Alright, Charles Leclerc purple in the first sector. Lando Norris improves on the previous lap and he goes 2/10 back from Charles Leclerc. Piastri also improves and he goes, 15 milliseconds behind his teammate. So really close there between the two McLaren drivers, as is expected, to be honest. And looks good. So the top 6 drivers are within 0.2 of a second, ladies and gentlemen. 0.2 of a second. Incredible. Quali is going to be so good. Unless Charles Leclerc can do anything about it, which he can, because he's just gone in first position by 0.6 of a second. Purple in all 3 sectors. Verstappen might have something to say about that, though, because he is not that far behind in the first sector, not that far behind in the second sector. It's only a matter of half a tenth or so. He's just got the final sector left to go, pushing extremely hard. The car looking a lot better than it did yesterday. Still not perfect, but looking a lot better, and he's only a quarter of a second back on Charles Leclerc. He loses the majority of the time in the final sector, and then how's it going for Max? But I would say a definite improvement, and whoever the test driver was working overnight with the Red Bull team and the Red Bull engineers has done a good job. Tsunoda quickest through the speed traps again, 328 kilometers per hour. He definitely did have a toe that time, but regardless, a really good run from Tsunoda, and the top speeds definitely helping him out of that car. And he is 1.2 seconds off Leclerc, 1 full second behind his teammate. And Antonelli improves up into 3rd position, half a second back. So I expect a good lap from George Russell as well. He's currently on a flying lap. He's got quite a bit of traffic. Maybe he's going to get a tow off Hamilton or Behrman. We'll see as he comes out of Maggots and Beckett's, going down the hangar straight now. George Russell, is he going to get a tow off his former teammate? Yeah, a little bit of a tow. And Behrman, I think, also gets out of the way. And let's have a look at George Russell's top speed. It is 323 kilometers per hour. So clearly, even with the tow, he hasn't got that much extra top speed. Mercedes not turning up the engine so much after their recent run of reliability issues. Russell, though, does improve, goes ahead of his teammate by about a tenth of a second, and we have got a Ferrari in first position, a Red Bull in second, and a Mercedes in third. Brilliant job, and great to see. And the top 8 cars, or the top 8 drivers, are from the top 4 teams. Sonoda's made it up onto the back of all of the other drivers, and Bortoleto hasn't managed to close that gap up. I must say, Bortoleto is doing a great job, considering he's in a Kick Sauber, which is by no stretch of the imagination a quick. He is up in 9th position, and maybe he can get another Q3 appearance. He had a great session last weekend out in Austria. Great race as well. So I've got to say, Bortoleto on a good run of form now, and hopefully that can continue. Hamilton, though, is purple through the first sector, looking good. This is on some quite old tyres as well. You'd have to take that into account. So the lap times will obviously tumble much more once we get to qualifying and the end of Q3. But Hamilton currently on a 7-lap old soft tyres, and he's making his way through Maggots and Beckett's. Bortoleto and Sonoda's traffic, not an ideal place to have traffic, to be honest. Going through Maggots and Beckett's, it does compromise your line and compromise the dirty air that you have through the corners. But Hamilton deals with it nicely, and now a nice little toe off Colapinto as he heads towards Stowe. 2/10 down currently on Charles Leclerc's time as he comes across the second sector line. Then he's just got Vale and Club left to go. Looking good is Lewis Hamilton, as he always does around Silverstone. And Ocon across the line 11th, Hamilton across the line. What's it going to be for him? Improves up into 4th position, still 4/10 back from his teammate, losing time in all 3 sectors compared to Charles Leclerc. All 3 sectors. Oh, sorry, he was quicker in the first sector, but in the second and the third sector, losing mainly the second sector, and that was mainly because of Maggots and Beckett's traffic. So once that traffic issue gets sorted out, Hamilton will be right on the tail of Charles Leclerc. Oh yeah, he also did lose time in the final sector as well, to be fair. Yeah, lost about 2/10 in the final sector. F1 Gamer, do the drivers use practice tyres in the race? No, the practice tyres are typically very separate. The drivers don't use practice tyres in the race unless there's very extreme circumstances where they need to do like 4 pit stops, and then they might use one of the tyres that they use during the practice sessions. But typically, whatever tyres they have in practice, they're going to stay in practice, and whatever tyres are in the race are going to stay in the race. Alright, we're halfway through the session. We've got the Red Bulls top of the speed traps, the McLarens bottom of the speed traps, and pretty exciting actually, pretty exciting. The McLarens, they are running a little bit slower. They've not turned up the engine mode. It's pretty clear to see, and now they're doing some long runs on these soft tyres here. They're looking at the potential of using the soft tyres for the start of the race, because a 2-stop strategy is predicted, I think, with these softer tyres, and what that means is that you can take the risk, start the race on the soft tyres to ensure that you'll get a good launch off the line and be able to defend your position wherever you are. And then you can come into the pits and work out your 2-stop strategy around lap number 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's, I think, what McLaren are thinking. Is it feasible to use the soft tyres for the start of the race? Because if they're going to do a 2-stop, they can definitely afford to start the race on the soft tyres. Or if they were doing a 1-stop, then starting the race on the soft tyres would be a race ruining strategy. But on a 2-stop, it's a lot more forgiving, and they can experiment with these kind of things. Alrighty then. Yeah, looks good so far. Looks good. Not too much action on the track. Well, we've got quite a lot of cars out onto the track, to be fair, but not all that much action. We've got a replay here of Kimi Anselmi making his way through Maggots and Beckett's, and looks like he gets a little snap of oversteer. Had a massive moment through turn 12. It didn't look like a massive moment from the onboard, but yeah, it must feel like a massive moment. You're going at 300 kilometers per hour, and the rear of the car snaps out. Definitely must feel like a massive moment. And Anthony keeps it under control, though. The driver's instincts are so good these days. They feel it slip from underneath them, and immediately they've caught it already. Also, folks, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, be sure to do so. Hopefully we can hit 177k subs by the end of the session. We've got about 489 subscribers left to go, so if you haven't hit the subscribe button, be sure to do so. I'll be commentating for qualifying, commentating for the race right till the end of the season. Every single practice session, every single quali, and the race, I'll be there. I'll be commentating, so I hope to see you guys there. very much would be appreciated if you could subscribe. Albon looking good actually. We expected Williams to be doing pretty good around Silverstone, and here is Albon on a set of medium tyres, might I point out, in 7th position. So if he bolts on a set of softs, I expect him that he would have ended up in 3rd or 4th. So pretty nice there from Alex Albon. We've got a quick lap here from Max Verstappen. He is pushing pretty hard actually, going through Vale and Club now, and purple in the first sector, green in the middle sector. 325 k's through the speed trap, across the line he comes. And what's it going to be for Max? He improves, not enough though to top Charles Leclerc, and he stays in 2nd position, 2 tenths back from 1st position. Okie dokes. Yeah. What else have we got going on then? All right, folks, we've just to point this out again. There are around 200 people watching a stream on TikTok. If you're watching this stream on TikTok, this content has been stolen by Black Box Gaming, and they've just taken my content off YouTube and they're just reposting it to TikTok. So if you guys do want to watch the original content creator and sort of support the channel via an actual means rather than just watching someone who's stolen my content, if you come over to YouTube, search F1 Gamer, I'll be the first stream that pops up. So yeah, be sure to, I hope to see you guys over on YouTube. It would be much preferred if you watch on YouTube rather than watching a stolen live stream. And we've got a lot more people in chat here. We've got 11,000 people watching the stream. Albon comes over the radio complaining about traffic. One of the Aston Martins. Stroll's currently out on the track, so I'm going to guess it was Stroll. And it's always Stroll, isn't it? When it comes to some of these sort of traffic issues, he was driving through Copse Corner. Alex Albon coming at full speed, and Stroll is about 1 metre away from the racing line when he's got about 3 car widths to the right of him. So yeah, Stroll just not positioning his car correctly. First time seeing McLaren's in the midfield. Yeah, I mean, track temperatures are pretty low. And, McLaren, one of their biggest strong suits is that in hot conditions, when the tyre wear is high, they can manage their tyres a lot better than all the other teams, because they've got some sort of tyre wear trick. They've got some sort of innovation that they've created, which is, very good. That's in the spirit of the regulations, to innovate and to create interesting solutions to problems, and McLaren have got some sort of solution. But when it comes to cold temperatures, like here we have what we have here in the UK, 25 degrees track temperature, that advantage just disappears to nothing, really. That tyre temperature, tyre wear advantage, it's not really relevant anymore, and the McLarens become a lot more within reach of the Mercedes, of the Ferraris, of Red Bulls, or of Max Verstappen, shall we say. And it's great to see. Great to see. I'd like to thank the Great British Weather. Hashtag blessed, to say the least, and very much is appreciated for it to be cold. Yeah. I mean, maybe they're sandbagging. They have turned down the engine modes, I can tell you that for certain. They're not going as quick through the speed traps as they were yesterday. Currently 313 kilometers per hour when we should be expecting them going 317, 318 maybe. So there's still some more performance left in the tanks of the McLaren car, but they're still 7 tenths back. So whatever advantage they had is not as big, whatever advantage they had in Austria is not going to be as big here in Silverstone. It's going to be very, very interesting, to say the least. Very, very interesting, this qualifying session. I don't know, it could be the McLarens, it could be George Russell, it could be Hamilton, Leclerc, Verstappen, any of the drivers could get pole, and I guess we'll have to wait and see. Here comes George Russell, ladies and gentlemen. Fresh set of soft tyres for George and for Kimi Antonelli as well. Brilliant news, brilliant news. Okay, so some good action that we're going to get from these two drivers. Leclerc says a little bit of rain at turn number 9, but nothing big. Okay, well, the Great British Weather, I'd like to thank you yet again, because we are potentially getting rain. I checked the weather an hour ago and it said no rain. Currently it says 10% chance of rain. Let me check again on the Met Office rather than the BBC News website. Yeah, it still says 10% chance of rain in Silverstone. So I don't know what Charles Leclerc is seeing. Is he seeing sweat droplets on his visor, or if he's seeing actual rain? I pray that it is actual rain, but who knows? Germany 2019. Oh yeah, Germany 2019 was a fantastic race with all of the rain, all of the chaos, so many pit stops. We had, I think, 5 or 6 pit stops for all of the drivers because it kept switching between full wets, intermediates, slicks, wets, and inters. Like it was incredible. Chances of rain for quali again, folks. The forecast is just saying 10% chance of rain throughout the day. Qualifying actually is at 3 p.m. isn't it here in the UK? It is 3 p.m. and the chance of rain for quali for 3 p.m. exactly jumps from 10% to 20%. So, I'm not going to give you guys that much hope that it is going to rain, but the chance is ever so slightly higher. Let's put it that way. All right. We have got 11,000 people watching the live stream. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. We're getting some quick laps here from George Russell, actually. A slow lap from the both of them, and then through the first sector of 27.999, which is a 10th down on Verstappen's previous time through the first sector, but not 2/10 down, shall we say. Antonelli, though, a really good first sector for him. I don't know if Russell warmed up his tyres properly or something, but Antonelli doing really well. And look at this wind as well, ladies and gentlemen. 16.2 kilometers per hour wind. It is going to have a really big effect on the grip levels that the drivers have through the corners. And once again, I'd just like to reiterate that have a tailwind going through turn number 3, going through Farm here, so they'll have less grip through that corner. But then going through Stowe, they're going to have a headwind, which means that they're going to have extra downforce, extra grip going through Stowe corner. So it's all really interesting, and the drivers will have to be aware of this fact when they're driving around the lap, and that could be the difference between pole position and 4th place. Pushing at the correct corners, going slightly slower at the correct corners to make sure that the car will still have grip. George Russell, nevertheless, had a slow first sector, but still improves. Goes ahead of Verstappen, 2nd place for him. Kimi Antonelli slower in the middle sector, but he comes across the line now, and he improves. Not enough to gain any places, but he's 3/10 back from his teammate, half a second back from Charles Leclerc. What time is quali? Folks, there is a countdown timer just here below the session, and 2 hours 45 minutes. That is how far away qualifying is from starting. I'll be streaming 30 minutes before the start of quali, and yeah. Last year's pole lap was a 125.8, not a 125.9. Oh, okay. Let me just correct that. Yeah, I probably just wasn't paying that much attention when I was typing it in. I think I put the pole time for 2025 when I initially typed it rather than the pole time for 2024. Isam, thank you for the donation. Does Lawson become the new Magnussen or Grosjean? Ooh, that's an interesting question. I think when you say Magnussen or Grosjean, you're sort of referring to the fact that both of these drivers are pretty quick drivers when they made their way through the junior ranks, but then they came to Formula One and they were just a consistent midfield driver. And I think Lawson is going to become like that. I think that happened to Pierre Gasly. He had his stint at the Red Bull team, then dropped to the back of the pack, found his feet in Formula One, and then slowly found his own confidence and has improved, but is nowhere near fighting for podiums, fighting for race wins. And Lawson indeed has gone down a very similar path. He's had his redemption arc. He's had a bad time at Red Bull, then a redemption arc, starting to improve as of recently. But it seems unlikely that he's going to be getting a championship-winning car, especially if he continues driving for the Racing Bull team, because they're always going to be slower than the Red Bulls. Well, I say always, majority of the time. But yeah, thanks for the donation. Thanks for the question. Have you seen the onboard of FP1 of Max Verstappen dancing around the track? Indeed, I have. I've seen it, and it's pretty bad, really. It's he had absolutely no grip in FP1. The team have worked overnight. They've got a new setup for the car, and the car's looking a lot more stable today. So he's happy about that one. Lawson over the radio saying, "Oh, I mean, Gasly's not even looking." So yeah, both drivers, Lawson and Gasly, complaining about each other over the radio. Yeah, they were going through Copse Corner. One driver wanted to go past, and then the other driver was like, "Nope, no, thank you very much. No, thank you very much." Anyway, yeah. All right then, 19 minutes away till the end of the session. Oh, Lawson has been noted for driving erratically. Interesting. I don't know, maybe you'll get a penalty point for that, but it shouldn't be too serious given that it is just FP3. If we're looking at the difference between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris is quicker through the slow speed corners, Piastri is quicker through the medium speed and the high speed. So Norris gains a tenth on Piastri through the slow speed corners, and in the other corners, Piastri gains that back, but the gap between the two drivers is 15 milliseconds. It is so close, I've got to say. We've got a quick lap here from Norris, actually. Let's see how he performs and if he can deliver a good lap. Currently, purple in the middle sector, looking good. He's 2 tenths up on Charles Leclerc's time as he comes across the middle sector line. He just got the final sector left to go, which the McLaren is typically very good at, given that it is slow speed corners. And here he comes then, out of club corner. What can he do? Across the line, it is first position by 3 tenths of a second. I would again like to point out, ladies and gents, Lando Norris was out on a fresh set of soft tyres. When Leclerc did his lap, his soft tyres were most certainly a lot older than fresh. They were, I think he had done 6 laps or so when he did that quick lap. So yeah, don't read into that too much. Once Leclerc puts on a fresh set of softs, the lap times will once again be a lot closer. Piastri, though, is looking nice and quick in the middle sector as well. He goes 1 millisecond slower than Lando Norris in the middle sector, as you can see there on the right-hand side of the screen. We have got Lando Norris, 139, 34.9, and Piastri actually goes up into first position, 40 milliseconds ahead of his teammate. But yeah, you can see a 1 millisecond difference between Piastri and Norris in the first sector, and in the second sector, you can see a 30 millisecond difference, 38 millisecond difference. Yeah, very close between these two drivers, trading blows at all of these different corners. I must say, it does look like they're a rocket ship, but just wait. We've got Verstappen coming out now on a fresh set of soft tyres. We've got Albon, Tsunoda coming out on fresh ones as well. Leclerc and Hamilton will come out on a fresh set, and then we'll get some accurate representations of what the pace is going to look like. Piastri's time's quicker than last year's pole. Indeed it is. But the lap record around here is a 124.2 or a 124.3. So there's still more lap time left to go before he gets the quickest lap ever recorded around Silverstone. Yeah, we had a little snap of oversteer from Carlos Sainz. Not ideal, to say the least. The Williams are not looking so great in Sainz's hands. He is 3 tenths off the back of Alex Albon in terms of pace, and the past couple of weekends haven't gone his way, so hopefully he can turn that around. I've just popped a link to the quali stream here, folks, so if you guys are interested in tuning into the quali stream, there's a link there. And of course, once the stream ends, it'll take you over to quali regardless. Verstappen, though, purple in the first sector. The Red Bull looks much better than it did yesterday, and it looks like it's on rails. He gains a 10th on the McLarens through the first sector, which is absolutely huge. Then, now going through the middle sector, he's not going to have any traffic, a clear track for Max Verstappen. No tow as well, but a clear track, and he makes his way through Maggots and Beckett's now. The car is looking fantastic. Super smooth inputs going through Maggots and Beckett's. Don't want anything snapping about through there, and Verstappen keeps it nice and tidy over the curbs. He goes onto the hanger straight. DRS wide open, and yeah, what's his top speed going to be? It is 324 kilometers per hour down the hanger straight for Max Verstappen. So super quick, to say the least. And yeah, he's running one of the lower downforce levels compared to all of the other cars. And now through club corner, what's it going to be for Max? It is only second position, actually. He loses quite a bit of lap time to the McLarens in the final sector. He loses 2 tenths worth of lap time, actually, in the final sector, because the McLarens are so good in the slow speed. Albeit, though, it doesn't really matter, because look how close the competition is. 19 milliseconds between Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri. The Red Bull engineers have done a miracle overnight, I've got to say. A huge improvement in the car, and yeah, it's looking a lot better, even in the hands of Yuki Tsunoda. He's only now 3 tenths off the back of Max Verstappen, so they've fixed the drivability issues, at least for today, at least for these track conditions. If it gets hotter, I'm sure it will change and the Red Bulls will suddenly become slow again. But if these things stay as they are, Red Bull are looking good. we've got both the Saubers, in fact, do some quick laps on fresh softs, and 9th and 10th position, looking good. Maybe they can get a double Q3 appearance. Of course, they got double points last weekend out in Austria, so it'd be good to see them continue on with their good form. What is the cross in the tyres? So if you see a cross in the tyres, like here, Alonso had these cross, what that means is the drivers came out on a used set of tyres. Without a cross, that means the drivers came out on a fresh set themselves. So, when Carlo Pinto came out of the pits initially, he was out on a used set of soft tyres. But everyone else here is all out on a fresh set of softs. Okay, and also, just when you see this solid green here behind the driver's lap times, what that means is this previous lap was a personal best. So if it was purple, it would be obviously a purple lap. If it was green, then it's a personal best lap. And if there's no colour, then it's slower than the personal best. Okay, Lawson got a black and white flag for driving erratically. I mean, it's fine. He got a black and white flag. He won't do it again. And no issues in that sort of regard for Liam Lawson. Just a little bit strange, to be honest. I don't know exactly what he was doing or what he was thinking he was doing, but things are fine now. F1 Gamer reportedly Service TV isn't working. Do you have an alternative? Yeah, so what you can do is connect to a Swiss server, and if you connect to a Swiss server, you go and search SRF, and you go onto Google, same procedure as Service TV, and you can watch Formula 1. I should probably point that out again, since Surfshark is sponsoring me. But folks, if you are interested in watching Formula 1 for only $2 a month, what you can do, get Surfshark VPN using the link in the description, join an Austrian VPN server, search Service TV on Google, and enjoy the Formula 1 coverage. You can see all the cars driving around. The commentary is in German, so you've got to mute that, listen to me instead. Yeah, Charles Leclerc up into first position, 67 milliseconds of Oscar Piastri, and as I was saying before, once everyone's out on fresh tyres, the lap times are going to be so close. The top 4 drivers within a tenth of a second. Fantastic. Yeah, folks, so if you guys are interested... Oh, Sainz is purple in the first sector. Whatever issues he was having earlier on in the season, those seem to have disappeared. Incredible first sector from Carlos Sainz. And let's see if he can hold it together in the second and third sectors. He's on a fresh set of softs, so maybe that's going to work. But yeah, just going back to the Surfshark VPN thing, we've got around 300, 400 people using it on the channel right now, so it does work. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work, you can always get a refund. So go ahead and check it out if you guys are interested. If not, don't worry about it. The channel will be fine either way. All right. Lawson improves up into 10th position, and the Racing Bulls have now displaced the Saubers. They're now in 9th and 10th. Hamilton on the previous lap made a little bit of a mistake, and that's why he backed out of it, and now he's doing another one. Sainz improves up into 12th position. After a purple first sector, I would have expected a little bit better, but his tyres did start to drop off in the final sector. He was half a second down just in the final sector compared to the McLarens, and the final sector, might I point out, is only 3 corners here. Like, you've got the Hangar Straight, so this is the start line for the third sector. You've got Stowe, Vale, and Club, and Sainz lost half a second just through these 3 corners, so his tyres were most definitely cooked by pushing too hard in the first sector. Hamilton, though, has just gone purple in the first sector. Let's see if he can hold it together. But... yeah, it's looking good here. Charles Leclerc up in first position. Hamilton, purple first sector. He comes across the middle sector line. What's it going to be? Green for him, 34.4. Leclerc did a 34.3, so not too far off. And now he's just got the final 3 corners left to go. Oh, red flag. What's the red flag for? What? Nobody's crashed as well. 8 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. Okay, well, I'm currently on an ad break, so I don't actually know what's going on the track because, with Sky Sports, they'll take your money and they'll also show you adverts while practice is going on. So unfortunately, I have no idea what's going on, folks. If someone can actually see the footage, be sure to let me know. But for whatever reason, we've got a red flag. It says track clear sector 15. All of the cars are driving as is expected. Debris on the track. Okay. There's a debris on the track. I don't think it's going to be a grass fire. Definitely not in the UK. It's not that hot. But I guess, yeah, debris on the circuit. Someone has obviously activated Plan C for chaos. And there's debris on the track. Hamilton was on for such a good lap as well. Let's have a look at his theoretical best lap time. So let's say he did do the final. He did do his final sector. Where would he have gone? He would have gone up into first position. He would have done a 125.484. Which is just a couple milliseconds quicker than Charles Leclerc. So his theoretical best lap time would have topped the timings if Hamilton didn't have the red flag come out and just finished his lap. So yeah, no need to worry, folks. No need to worry. The red flag did, obviously screw up the fact that Hamilton might have been top of the times, but the pace is still there regardless, and we could see him. Definitely see him get pole position. It's not going to be long before we get the green flag underway. It was just a little bit of debris on the circuit, and then we'll be on our way till the end of the session. Okay, it's for a tiny bit of front wing. Okay, well, a tiny bit of front wing is incredible, folks. Incredible. I guess the FIA just trying to be extra safe. To be fair, around Silverstone, it is sort of dangerous. If you get even the tiniest puncture going through Maggots and Beckett's, it ends up in a huge crash. Danny Kvyat had a tyre blowout going through Maggots and Beckett's in 2020, if I remember correctly. And Danny Kvyat, that's a name I haven't said in a long time, to be fair. But yeah, regardless, he had a tyre blowout going through there and a pretty big crash to go along with it. So I think they're just being extra safe and making sure that no one gets a surprise puncture as they're driving along the circuit. Red flag is for a little bit of debris. I don't know why they haven't cleared it up already though. Like, it would have taken a total of about 30 seconds to get a marshal to run out onto the track, pick up the debris, and there we go. DRS enabled, track clear. We should be getting going very, very soon. The pit lane exit just needs to open up, so it should open up in around about 30 seconds or so. Oh, they say to Behrman, we think the bodywork on the track might actually be yours. So it's a little piece of Oliver Behrman's car apparently, and the marshals have picked it up and they've made their way to the side of the circuit. They've got a nice piece of carbon fibre as a souvenir, and Ollie Behrman will have his engineers will have some repair work to do. All right, 5 minutes left on the clock here, folks, and the session is going to restart in 20 seconds, 18 seconds now, till the session gets underway, and the drivers are making their way to the end of the pits. Fantastic, folks, fantastic. Okay, yeah, let me know what your predictions are. Who do you think is going to be who do you think is going to be getting pole position? But I think it's just going to be so close. I have no idea who's it going to be. Maybe we're going to have Lewis Hamilton, maybe Charles Leclerc, maybe Verstappen. The Red Bulls are looking a lot better this weekend. Maybe Piastri, maybe Norris. Anyone's game. And that is the beauty of Formula One this season. Yeah. I don't know why everyone's queued up at the end of the pit lane. Oh, I guess it's actually now it's 35 seconds away. I just misread the timer. Yeah, a lot of people think Hamilton, a lot of people think Lando, maybe Max. Why is the clock not on pause for a red flag? The clock only pauses during qualifying sessions for a red flag. Most of the time, it is during practice sessions, it just continues ticking down because it's not that big of a problem. So the drivers have already had 2 hours and 40 minutes of practice or something. They don't really need the extra 10-20 minutes at the end. So green light, pit lane exit is open, and we're going to have Bortoleto first driver out onto the track. All of the cars now making their way out onto the circuit. They're just going to be doing their final couple of runs. I wouldn't expect any sort of quali laps in the final couple of minutes, albeit we could see some quali laps, but typically we don't really get qualis right at the end. Or quali sims right at the end. Do you think Hamilton is now more comfortable in the SF25? I think maybe he's more comfortable in the SF25, but it might also be that he's just more comfortable at the Silverstone circuit. So I guess we'll have to see till the next race out in Belgium. We're going to have a sprint race in Belgium as well, which is going to be very, very exciting. There's always so many overtakes down the Kemmel Straight, going into La Source, going through Eau Rouge. It's fantastic at Belgium. And if that form continues on to Belgium, then there's great news for Ferrari. They're going to have a driver competing at his highest level against Charles Leclerc, which is going to be great for them, because they're going to need every single point they can get to beat Mercedes in the constructors. Let me just put the constructor standings up on the screen here, folks. We've got Ferrari with 210 points, Mercedes with 209. It is very close between those teams, and they're going to need both drivers operating at maximum attack if they are going to get second place in the constructors. Okay, folks. Yeah. That is about it. 2 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, and we have got most of the drivers making their way out onto the circuit. And just look at the top four, really. Leclerc, Piastri, Verstappen and Norris, all within a tenth of a second of each other. Hamilton, when he came across the line, he also would have set a pretty much identical lap time to Charles Leclerc if it weren't for the red flag. And Hamilton would have also ended up right at the top of the time. So we'd have had 5 cars within a tenth of a second of each other or so, a tenth and a half of each other. And you can't get much better than that. You cannot get much better than that one. Yuki's doing good as well. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. If Verstappen can drive the car and if he can extract the pace out of it, it's much more likely that Yuki will also be able to do so. A big lock-up there for George Russell. Bit of a mistake. I think Russell has been struggling with his tyre temperatures, in fact, going through the first sector on his previous hot lap as well. Also locking up going through Farm. And, of course, there's a tailwind as well, I'd like to just point out. The drivers do lose grip. The wind is blowing from this direction in towards turn number 3. So as the drivers are driving through this corner, they get a loss of grip. So that's probably also... Oh, Bortoletto going through Maggotts and Beckett's. Yellow flag. What's happened here? Bortoletto had an issue going through Copse Corner. The car bottomed out. He went off into the gravel, managed to keep it under control. Red flags out, ladies and gentlemen. Bortoletto's crashed the car with... Oh, there's 2 hours and 30 minutes left to quali, folks. 2 hours and 25 minutes left to quali. Bortoletto's crashed the car. The red flag's out. That's the end of the session. And this is the second time now he's ended up in the gravel trap. First time, no damage to the car, managed to get it out safely. Second time, into the barriers. And yeah, it should be fine to get it repaired for qualifying. By the looks of it, it's just a front left suspension, so 2.5 hours will be more than enough. Of course, the engineers will have to, the mechanics will have to skip lunch to get it all sorted, but they can definitely get it done within the 2.5 hours before qualifying begins. Just a little unfortunate there for Gabriel Bortoletto to end out the session. So that's a red flag, ladies and gentlemen. The time is ticking to 0. End of FP3. And I'll just read through the timings. For anyone listening to this like a radio broadcast, we've got Leclerc first. Hamilton would have been first if it wasn't for the red flag. Piastri second. Verstappen third. Norris fourth. Tsunoda fifth. Behrman 6th. Great job from him. It's his home race as well, looking to perform pretty well. Albon up in 7th. Russell in 8th after messing up his first sector on multiple flying laps. He's going to have to sort out his warm-up procedure for his tyres. Hadjar and Lawson in 9th and 10th position, Hamilton in 11th, Sainz in 12th, Ocon 13th, Antonelli 14th, Hulkenberg 15th, Bortoletto 16th, Alonso 17th, Colapinto 18th, Stroll 19th, Gasly 20th. That is the end of the session, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been a pleasure commentating to you guys. Just a big snap of oversteer for Bortoletto, to be honest. Big snap, overcorrection, off into the gravel. Not much he could do. Yeah, the car just snapped out of control and he went flying over the circuit. In fact, the suspension broke while he was bouncing over the grass and gravel. You've got to imagine there's huge loads of these cars driving over the circuit, and when you bounce onto the circuit like that, the suspension just collapsed in on itself. And that was after he had already lost the car. So it wasn't like the suspension broke and then he lost the car. He lost the car, then the suspension broke. Yeah. All right then, ladies and gents. It's been a pleasure commentating to you guys. I'm going to end the stream now. I'll take you over to the quali stream. Just hit the like button, the reminder button for the quali stream. It really does help out the channel, and yeah. And I look forward to seeing you then. We're going to have an extremely close qualifying session, and I cannot wait to see who's going to be on pole position. Alright then, Borsaletto's fine, his car is repairable, they should get it done in 2 hours and 23 minutes. I will see you guys in 2 hours time for qualifying. Yeah, just hit the like button and reminder button, and I'll see you then. Bye bye folks.